What is up, Need for Speed racers? It is I, your wheelman, Alex Cornnut, and we're here with the Boss 302 Mustang for A-Class. Nil has been playing with this one for a few days. We decided it was muscle week, so let's find some muscle cars. Finding muscle cars that are competitive in whatever class we can put them in has been a bit of a challenge, but the Boss slots into A comfortably. It is not the F40. It is not the Testarossa, but it'll walk down a lot of the other cars. Check out the gameplay footage afterwards. You'll see what I'm talking about. I end up getting a full lobby of people I do not know and do very well against them. And so you'll see how it performs. I think it's pretty cool. I think it looks great. You can do the RTR kit on this one, and so you can make it look as rowdy or as stock as you'd like. I kind of thought this was a happy medium between the two. So overall, let's dig into the build. Tell me what you think. There's 3 different motors you can use with this. I'll show you all 3, but I'm going to showcase the motor I really did think was the best. So for the engine, the one that we are using is the second motor over. It is the Iron Basic 390 brake horsepower 7.2 liter V8. You can use that motor, you can use the first motor, or you can use the fourth one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the 4.9 liter flat 12. The flat 12 gives you the most horsepower out of all of them, which is 557, but you've only got 509 on the torque. It says it does 173. I could never hit that in a playlist. It just didn't have enough power to get there. If you use the stock motor, which is the 4.9 liter V8, you get 550 horsepower, but only 524 on the torque. So we get an extra 19 horsepower, but as you can see there, you're 130 foot-pounds less on the torque side of things. Torque helps you accelerate, and so the 7.2 liter V8 is definitely the motor that I went with. Gives you 531 on the horsepower, 653 for the torque. By far out of the 3 engines, the torquiest, and I think that it really helps the car the most. Gives you a top speed of 165, and it will hit it. So at the end of the day, the car's pretty fast. It'll outrun some of the other 160 builds that we've got, like the RS or the GSX or the R34. The R34 is faster than this one, but it's close. So just keep that in mind when you guys are building. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for a Mustang build and you're looking for a muscle car, this is pretty good for A, guys. For the parts, you are running Iron Basic Induction. You are running Iron Basic ECU, Iron Basic Fuel System, Iron Basic Exhaust, Elite Platinum Roots Supercharger, Sport Bronze Nitrous Bottle, Elite Platinum Road Suspension, Iron Basic Brakes, Elite Platinum Grip Tires, Iron Basic Clutch, Sport Bronze 4-speed transmission, Elite Platinum Differential. For me, I'm running Nitrous Grip, running Nitrous Drift. That's what we're doing to get micro drifts out here, you guys. I'm still very deep into the camp of grip builds are the most consistent. Don't get me wrong, there's some really fast guys out there that are running drift, but I'll talk about the differences here in a moment because we're kind of a community divided on that, and I want to explain some of that to you guys. For the handling, go as far to the left as you can on this one. It's a 60% grip build, so just give it your all. It's not that bad. It actually hooks up better than I expected for a 60% grip build. For the steering sensitivity, that's on you. Do whatever you like. Keep it consistent throughout all your cars, so that way all the cars are going to respond similarly, and then it's just up to the way the car handles, not up to how you have the steering sensitivity, because it does change a lot of stuff. I do 2 clicks to the right. You do whatever you think is best, you guys. Downforce, go all the way high, back it off 1. That's where I sit. I think it's good. You don't need a lot of downforce with this car. I would go less, but it takes it out of the class. Puts it 210, 212, and then some. So go all the way to the right. That's 208. Back it off 1. 209 right there, you guys. Traction control is off. Drift entry, brake tap. That is going to give you the Ford Mustang Boss 302 1969. Nice. 165 for the top speed, 0 to 60, doesn't matter. 531 for the horsepower, 653 for that torque. Quarter mile, doesn't matter. When I was talking about grip versus drift builds, because there's other content creators that are pushing these drift builds out in an isolated track scenario where you are running against CPUs and you've got kind of the track to yourself. Drift builds are okay because you can set up your drift. You've got a certain line you need to take. You're going to be able to accumulate and have more speed. That's great. It's faster. I've seen guys do it. They are faster than I am. But for a public lobby scenario where you're going to be racing with other people, where there's going to be traffic involved, where you don't get to just reset that track hundreds of times to get really good at those perfect lines. So for 99.9% of the average player base, grip builds are going to be more consistent. If you are in a drift and somebody taps you or hits you, your drift is done. If you are in a drift and there's a piece of traffic in front of you because somebody else hit traffic or did something to throw them out of place, your drift is done. If you get out of sync with your drifts and you can't chain them together, you are now no longer faster than the grip guys. You're actually running slower than them because you're not able to accumulate the same amount of yellow boost. So, are drift builds faster? Potentially. Does it require capable hands and pretty good lines? Yes. For the majority of players, that's not the case. So I will always recommend grip builds, and that's all I run, because at the end of the day, I'd rather be consistent on every lobby I join, in every play set I get into, in every car I drive, because they're all set up for grip driving, and that's easy to drive. It's consistent. It's fun. If you're the 0.1%, the very top upper echelon of the best players in the world, and you can run drift, that's great. The rest of us guys that are just lobby stomping and having fun, grip's way more consistent. And that's what I bring to you guys, because I think honestly that is what all of my viewers do. If you're a drift racer, that's great. But chances are you're also not here for my build. So, you know, do what you do, you guys. But just know that I'm trying to make everybody faster. And I would say that for everybody else, grip is where it's at. So I'm going to stand in that camp for as long as I can, until I find otherwise, to make it easier for the rest of you guys. Other than that, gameplay footage after this. I run a playlist in this car. In one of the races, I take second. I get a little off center and kind of go out in the trees, but I come back. But I want to show you guys in that race how much this car can catch up and what it really does, you know, at the top end of things. It's a pretty fun little car. It is not meta, but it beats a lot of other cars in that playlist. And so I'll show you what it can do against normal, regular guys. If you're got a good pro elite platinum driver mod, you'll do fine in this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow if you haven't. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. All right, race 1, the Hustle. This car surprised me in a lot of ways because I wasn't sure how it was going to stack up against a full lobby. You'll see that I'm sitting there clicking the right bumper. I'm trying to get the car into gear right now. As a manual player, that's what you guys want to do. We launched this car in 3rd gear, and we're going to take out. We've got a full lobby, 8 people, and we're just going to run it down and see how we do. We launched pretty good. We're running manual. I'm not sure if they're in automatic or not, so we're just going to do the best we can to get our speed up and just run away from these guys. At the end of the day, we really don't see a whole lot of them for the rest of this playlist. I'll show you some of the cars that we're up against here. We've got a Lamborghini. We've got a McLaren F1, I know for sure was in here. We've got a handful of other cars that are pretty competitive overall. And so this Mustang holds its own. I mean, at this point, we're 250 yards ahead of the next closest guy and lots more on the rest. So it gives you an idea that this car does have the ability to walk away from these, you know, our opponents. This is a speed race, and so this is not a top speed car by any means, but I think it does hold its own very, very well against those other cars in a speed type race. There's not a lot of driver skill gap here between me and these guys. Like, there's one corner in this whole race, and so if their cars were fast enough to keep up, they would be right here with me, because there's really not, it's not a technical track. There's not a lot of turns that I'm just hitting the apexes being perfect with. It's the left turn that's back here and the left turn that's right up here. So just know that, you guys, this car is pretty competitive overall. It'll run down a lot of people in a pub lobby. If they're running Cornnut builds, and if they're in the Testarossa or something, you might have a little bit more trouble. But for the most part. If they're running their own builds, you should have no problem. Nothing against the guys I'm racing against. If you're out there, say hi, you guys. I'm more than happy to interact with those that happen to get a chance to catch a lobby with me. But this car does showcase really well, and it definitely doesn't have any problems. These guys are able to catch up a little bit in this section because I do shave a little speed here, and the car doesn't like to accelerate as hard as some of the other cars in the class. But when we're trying to make a muscle car viable, there's only so many places you can stick it. And so at the end of the day, the Boss 302 does just fine. I didn't do a lot of tech on this track because honestly this track's not hard to figure out. Just don't crash. But there's a good look at the car. Looks pretty sweet. We're pretty happy with it overall. Alright, race 2, the drop. Now, this one, I get a little cheeky with my driving abilities. There's that McLaren F1 I was talking about. Like I said, we got a pretty stacked playlist in here. There's a lot of pretty fast cars. I do get a little sideways in one of my turns and go off in the trees, and then it's everything I can do to come back. But I, want to showcase that the car does have some catch-up ability. So we get a good launch. This is going to be the hardest part for this car. So we're going to be just kind of at the low end of third gear. There's the Cayman. That's a very fast car, very Corner King-esque. It does very good on the twisties, especially uphill. It's very light. There's the bobble I was talking about where I go way off the track. We lose a lot of time there, and it's everything we can do to catch back up. So right in front of us, we've got that Ford Focus RS. We've got that McLaren F1 right there. Both those cars are very good in A-Class. We know this for certain. And if you're looking for that McLaren F1 build, I'm going to have that to you as one of the base builds here coming up here in a little bit. I don't know that I'll ever financially recover, but we'll buy 5 McLarens and I'll show them to you. So right now, we're just trying to get back up to the leaders. Watch the yardage between me and Tearful Sauteed up there in first. We're going to do everything we can to catch back up to him. He had about a 220-yard gap earlier, and we are slowly walking it down, but due to handling, that car is going to be able to get away from us in a couple different sectors of this track. With us having a pretty good top speed, we are going to be able to catch back up. Traffic's definitely not playing nice with us. For this track, you really want to just try to point a straight line and not put too much steering input into the overall dirt section. So you'll notice I'm not steering too much. I just kind of straighten the car out. And then here, I try to favor the concrete side of things as much as I can. I do cut through the field, but I cut farther to the left than the right. And you'll see I'm catching up to the guy in second right now quite a lot. I almost land on him here. As soon as we land, we're carrying more speed than that Cayman's capable of, and so we're able to walk away. Now the car in front of us, Mike, he is got a higher top speed than us. That car is quite fast, so that's why he was able to take the win. But I wanted to show you that even if you make a mistake, this car does have the ability to catch back up if you drive pretty clean. Alright, last race of the playlist, Lakeshore Express. This is a speed list, and so as you can see, we've got the Civic Type R right there. We've got a couple of guys that are in the Mercedes. I'm not sure if those are my A-Class build or if they're in stock cars. There's the Murcielago that beat us in the last race, so that's one of the cars got the legs. Plus, we've got the F1 in here. So all of those cars are pretty competitive. I don't know about the stock Mercs, but everything else, the Cayman, the Mercy, the F1, the Civic, all those cars are pretty good, you guys. And so us being in a Boss, this really does showcase that this car is decent. It will hold its own in a playlist if you're driving clean. So for this track, you guys, really the only part that's a big deal is coming up here, coming through this building. It's really important that you want to stay to the inside here, so that way if you end up getting thrown wide, you don't clip the edge of the building. And then just making sure you're going straight off the jump and trying to land on the road every time, so that way you don't lose any speed going into the grass. Other than that, you can stick to the middle or to the right side, whatever works. I have a tendency to kind of favor the yellow line in the middle there. Just if there's traffic, you'll be able to split it and not get involved with much. You want to brake here and just slow down as much as you can and not go off the tarmac. If you go off the tarmac, you're going to regret it sorely. Try to wait to use your boost until you get on that corner exit. That way you can use it all in a straight line to maximize your acceleration. You want to use all of your boost and all of your NOS all at once to get up to speed and get your car back up to top speed as soon as possible. Because of that technique, we are now 350 yards ahead of our opponent at the end of the straightaway because we utilized our resources to the best of our ability. You'll see this car does bleed speed in the corners. We entered at about 155 and we slowed down to about 145. But we don't lose all that much speed in the dirt. We only really lost speed when we turned. Other than that, we're going to use all of our NOS again with our boost to get back up to speed. You want to use that stuff to get up to your top speed and then stay there. And so this is where favoring that center line, just straddling the double yellow, is going to give you the ability to weave traffic. Keeps you out of trouble. So make a habit of that, you guys. It's a good spot to be. Using our brakes, slowing down, staying to the inside as much as we can. Just doing a nice grip turn, coming out of this, wait until we get our yellow boost, and then using it all, plus all of our nitrous to get up to speed and carry that to the end of the race. Overall, we're doing pretty good. We got a really good lead on our opponents. The boss is great, you guys. For a muscle car. It's not meta, but it's definitely not bad. That's why I have no problem bringing it to you with a smile on my face. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate your support on the channel. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Literally, click the like button. Or say hello in the comments. If you've never left a comment on any of my videos, say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.